interesting year. I think hopefully all of you are getting your first shots, if not already gotten your second shot, your second vaccinations. Maybe by the start of our fall year, we may be in person again, but this has been a great year for reaching out past Matthews, North Carolina. So Habitat and Wildlife Keepers, a chapter of the North Carolina Wildlife Federation, is based in Matthews and Southeast Charlotte. But with these Zoom calls, we're able to reach farther. So I hope that we've got people far and wide joining us tonight for this very timely presentation. Shannon Unger is going to be joining us in a little bit. But who is Hawk? We are a group of very optimistic people trying to save our little corner of the world. So I encourage everybody on this call, if you've got a chapter, if you're in North Carolina, you've probably got a chapter close to you, that you get involved with a chapter. If you're in Matthews or Southeast Charlotte, we hope that you will join Hawk and help us plan next year's programs. We've got one more program this year in May. I'll talk about that in a little bit, but we need volunteers that will help us out. We need volunteers that will help us create a unified voice for wildlife here in the area, who can't speak for themselves. So we hope that you will consider joining us. If you've got any ideas for programs that you would like to see coming up in next year, and we start in September, we hope that you will get in touch with us. You can do that through our website or our Facebook page. You can also just pick up the phone and call us. Our telephone number is on the website. So get in touch with us. Give us ideas on what you'd like to see for next year. We've already started the planning process for that. So again, get involved. How can you help? Well, the first thing that you can do to help wildlife is build a wildlife habitat right in your own backyard, even if it's small. It doesn't have to be hundreds of acres. It can be a courtyard or a balcony. And then, so build that wildlife habitat using native plants, food, water, shelter, and a place to raise young, and then get it certified. You can get it joint certification through the North Carolina Wildlife Federation and the National Wildlife Federation. So we would love to continue to increase the number of habitats in the Matthews area. Matthews is a certified community habitat, and one of the things that we're responsible for is continuing to add certified habitats to the area. So you can also support Hawk with volunteerism. Again, would love to have you join our leadership team, or again, just give us ideas. Also, we'll always take monetary donations as well. And then supporting the North Carolina Wildlife Federation and supporting the National Wildlife Federation helps on a statewide effort and on a national wildlife effort. Let's see. And then take a kid fishing. That's the best way to save wildlife for the next generation, is to introduce a kid to the love of the outdoors and love of wildlife, so that children can take over when we're no longer here. Our email account is hawkncwf@gmail.com. You can reach us through there. You can also, like I say, reach us through Facebook. And then all of our information is on our website, hawkncwf.com. Down to our next slide. The May meeting, it's very exciting. We've got someone with the Great Smoky Mountain National Park going to talk to us about the synchronous fireflies. So we are very excited to have that. It's going to be a virtual presentation again, hopefully our last one this year, but who knows. It will be on the first Tuesday, as all of our meetings are, May 4th at 6:30 p.m. So the link to register is on our website, again, hawkncwf.org, and the event is already on our Facebook page. So if you want to go ahead and get registered, I hope that you will. And then Shannon is going to talk to us tonight about babies everywhere. We get lots of calls at Hawk this time of year saying, I found a baby bird, I found a baby squirrel, some possums. Possum ran over on my street, and I've got a bunch of baby possum. What do I do? So Shannon is going to talk to us tonight about what to do when you find that baby, and a little bit more about the Animal Rehabilitators of the Carolinas, ARC. So Shannon, are you there?
Yes, I am here.
Oh, awesome. All right. I have so that the people get to know you a little bit better before we get started. So tell us what you do in life, what your profession is, what you do for a living, and then tell us how you got involved with this volunteer work.
Sure. So I am the environmental educator for the Cabarrus County Parks and Rec. And so I work a lot with kids in the community, doing environmental education as a whole and science education. I normally be in schools a lot right now. Right now I'm doing a lot of virtual programs, but I'm still able to do some smaller programs. So I get kids out hiking and biking and fishing, just like you were saying. And I got into this work, rehab work, for a couple of reasons. It kind of came to head when we found this raccoon at work, and it was acting off, and it was in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it was like in the middle of the road. It shouldn't have been there, and no one really knew what to do. And I started kind of learning more about it and realizing that it might be something I want to get into that might help me with my work, but also because, well, I mean, who doesn't love a baby animal? So I've really enjoyed it. I've only been with them, with Animal Rehabilitators of the Carolinas for almost a year now. So I'm still learning, but I've been really enjoying it.
All right. Well, excellent. And what a lot of people may not know is that you are a member of the Hawk leadership team. You are our secretary, and a fine secretary at that. So we appreciate all that. So I am going to, unless you have anything else to add, I will tell everybody on the call, there is the chat feature and a Q&A. Type in your questions. You can type comments into the chat feature. Daniel and I are going to be monitoring that throughout the presentation, and we will be feeding questions to Shannon throughout the presentation, and especially at the end. So make sure that you take advantage of those features on the Zoom. So Shannon, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'm going to go and say, give everyone a heads up. I am at home and I have dogs and children, and I'm surrounded by lots of animals. So there might be rustling and bustling or barking or mom, it may happen. I apologize up front. You are right now live in my animal rehab room / guest room / office. You are always welcome to come stay at our house, but you never know who you're going to be with. In this room, I have half a dozen squirrels, 3 possums, 5 rabbits, and 2 snakes. And it's a busy room. Now, I want to give you a heads up. I am going to be getting out a few animals toward the end, so you can meet them. So maybe it's a little teaser. But I do want to talk about kind of a little bit about the natural history of some of these animals, a little bit about what it's like to be a rehabilitator, and then what you should do if you find a wild animal that you think might need help. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But yeah, so I'm going to go and turn on the presentation, but at the end, I will come back and I'm going to introduce you some of my rehab animals and answer questions. So let me go and pull up my presentation, friends. Okay, let's see. Here we go. And make this big. Here we go. It's funny because Carol asked me if I was nervous, and I said, I'm not nervous about the presentation. I get nervous about technology. Maybe some of you guys are in the same boat with me. So hopefully everyone's seen that front page of the presentation. But that's our kind of like what we do here. What is wildlife rehabilitation? It's not just the crazy lady with all the cats, and if you're that person, no offense. It's not just I'm going to take this animal. It's about I've been trained, and I'm continually being trained about how to practice knowledgeable care for injured, orphaned, diseased, or displaced animals. And the whole point is to release them back into the wild. I have no intention of keeping these animals. I have named them. I'm not supposed to, but I have, and I do care about them greatly. But the whole point is to release them back into the wild. And that's the point of our organization. A little bit about the Animal Rehabilitators of the Carolinas. So who are we, ARC? Well, we're nonprofit, and we've been around since '87, and I just started almost a year ago, so I'm still pretty new. There's about 30 plus rehabilitators. Now, that's not everyone in the organization, though. Some people just do the hotline, which we'll talk about in a minute. Some people do transporting, so they'll go get the animal. So there's that too. But the rehabilitators are those that are licensed to actually do the work. And I'll talk about the license in just a minute. And we're all at home. We don't have like a location. Well, we do have a small space where we meet sometimes, but all the rehabilitation is happening in people's homes. And we're in North Carolina and South Carolina. So what do? We rehabilitate animals, mostly mammals. We do reptiles from time to time too. And my husband's actually a herpetologist, so he's been able to give us some insight with that as well. Last year, we rehabbed about 1,500 animals, mostly mammals again. And when I say rehabbed, it means we brought them in, we rehabbed in whatever state they're in, whether they're orphaned or injured, and hopefully release them if possible. Knowing that sometimes they can't be, and that's probably the hardest part of the job, is when they can't be brought back to health and released. So we provide public education and promote wildlife welfare as a whole. So that's what we do. So a little bit about our ethics. Don't worry, this is a little bit dry, but hang with me. We got some great pictures and animals here in a minute, but I want you to know who we are. So we do have to follow laws. There's a lot of wildlife laws concerning the animals that we work with. We provide as best we can optimal and humane care, following sound principles of ecology, and encourage community support. So that's why I'm doing this right now. So a little bit about the laws here, friends. You can't transport wild mammals across state lines, and we can't enforce the laws. I can't. There are times when people have called and then they don't want to give up their animal for whatever reason, and they shouldn't keep it if they're not licensed. But we're not going to call the police on you or anything. But we try to encourage people to follow the rules as we do ourselves. We do not rehab birds, bear, or deer. There are people that do these things, but we do not. It's actually illegal for us to keep animals over 90 days. After that, you'd have to have a different license for that. And we don't, most of us, I don't think any of us have that. So the whole point is to rehabilitate these animals and then release them. And we also don't treat domestic animals. And as of recent, we are now allowed, some of us, to rehab rabies vectors such as raccoons, fox, skunk, and bats. I currently cannot get that license. To get that license, you have to be a apprentice for 1 year, which I still am. So I have a mentor, and then 3 years of actual full-fledged rehabilitation. And then you can apply for a rabies vectors license, and you have to get a rabies shot. So some of us are there. I know we're close. So just for a little fun. So I'm going to give you a little clue and see if you can guess what animal I'm describing. So I am very unique. I'm the only one of these animals in North America. I'll give you a hint. There's a bunch of them in Australia. All the weird animals are there. Opossums. I'm not really a little airplane. I actually don't fly at all, but I'm called a flying squirrel, but I should be called a gliding squirrel, really. We'll talk about those more in a bit. I have multiple bathrooms in my fancy house. I don't know if you realize that these chipmunks have these huge burrowing chambers up to like 30 feet this way, that way, multiple bathrooms and rooms and things like that. I'm a health nut. I love my greens. Rabbits. And the last one, people think I'm nuts. I bet you know this one. A squirrel. And so these are a lot of the animals that we do regular rehabilitation for. Okay, so that's kind of introducing them. So let's talk a little bit about the natural history and the rehabilitation of possums, which I do have one, actually have a couple, and I'll introduce you to one at the end. So there are marsupials. They do have pouches, even as babies. If they're a female, they do have pouches. It's pretty cool. You can see the little babies in there. A little bit about just who they are. They don't see well, but they hear and smell. They have a really good sense of smell. They actually do smell too, but that's another story. They have opposable thumbs, but only on their back feet, which is kind of cool. And they do have a tail that can act like an extra limb, but they can't hang from it. Every once in a while, babies can hang from it for like, just to help them get to the next place. But no, they don't hang from it like you always see in pictures. They have more teeth than any mammal. They have 50 teeth. And I wish I brought my skull home from work because I do have a possum skull. Not only do they have so many teeth, they have a huge ridge on top of their head. And that's where all the muscles from the jaw attach, and it makes their jaw super strong so they can chew through about anything. But they really rarely bite. In fact, when I show you one of my possums at the end, he'll probably give you a smile, but he's just showing his teeth to look scary. But he really rarely bites. I haven't been bitten by him yet. Hopefully it won't happen tonight. And they're nocturnal. So here's a picture of one. And you can see the eye shine. So a lot of times you'll see nocturnal animals have this like eye shine. And there's actually a tissue in the back of the eye called a tapetum lucidum. And it's actually a reflective lens that actually takes in the light that, you know, we all take in to see, but it actually reflects it back out. It allows them, helps them to see at night. It's almost like a flashlight. It's kind of cool. You see it in cats and deer and raccoon and things like that. So here's a grinning display. Now that looks really scary, but still I doubt that possum would bite. Would I put my hand near its mouth at that moment with its babies? Probably not, but it's just trying to show you that it's got lots of big, scary teeth. They do often play dead. That actually does happen. Even these babies will kind of like freeze up if they want me to not mess with them. They don't live very long. It's kind of surprising because they're a bigger mammal compared to like rodents and things like that, but they actually don't live very long, only about 2 years, 7 years in captivity. Now this is interesting. I hope I don't offend anybody. I don't think I would, not with this crew, but males have a forked penis. Now what's interesting about this is a funny story. So it has to do with, you know, how they mate, obviously, but basically it's like almost like two penises. And what's funny is I read a story just a couple of days ago that colonial Americans used to think, because it had a forked penis or like two looking penises, that it would mate with the female's nose, the nostrils. And then it gets better. And then the female would sneeze the babies into her pouch. And I thought maybe it was like a weird link. It was kind of like silly on the web, but I found it in multiple places. I don't know. I don't know any colonial Americans personally, but I think that's hysterical. So they're interesting that way. They're usually solitary unless they're mating and raising young, and the young right on the back. So I like this picture because as a mother, I know that face, that face. So we're going to talk a little bit more about why, if you find a baby possum, its mother's gone. It's not because the mother's a jerk. It's because she probably didn't even notice it fell off. She has so many babies to contend with. So yeah, I love the look on her face. So they eat almost anything. And they eat a lot of carrion, which is really helpful. What I like to call nature's recyclers, eating all the dead stuff on the side of the road. Unfortunately, that's the reason they're often run over by cars, because they're eating dead stuff on the side of the road. But they eat a lot of ticks. I think this is the take home for people that really don't like possums. These guys are often called naked-tailed tick eaters. And the reason is because they eat thousands and thousands of ticks. Here, I mean, I haven't heard, this number kind of surprised me still, but thousands of ticks a week. I'm still thinking that's kind of a stretch, but at least thousands and thousands every season that carry things like Lyme disease and other things. So if anything, if you don't love that cute face, which I don't know how you wouldn't, know that they are eating those ticks, which are great for us and for our domestic animals as well. So naked-tailed tick eater. So when they're born, they are tiny. I mean, like a little bigger than a grain of rice. 20 can fit in a teaspoon. They can have up to 7 to 10 usually, sometimes more. Now this is kind of interesting. So 60-day-old possum is equal to a placental mammal at birth. So like a mammal, like a squirrel or a rabbit, they're equal to a 60-day-old possum. They wean in 3 months and they go on their own in 4. So if I get a baby that's kind of young, I may have it up to 4 months. Now, you got to understand this picture. You see that penny right there, right? That is a tiny, tiny baby possum. So when we get them in, first thing we do is we warm them, then we feed them, and we have to tube feed them because they're marsupials. They don't suckle like a normal placental mammal would. They don't know how to suckle. Normally in the mom's pouch, they would attach to the nipple and never come off. They would just hang there and the mom would squirt milk in there when it's time. So they have no idea how to suckle. So we have to tube feed. And as they grow, they'll eat all kinds of stuff as they do. We have a possum chow. It's kind of like a cat chow, egg and fruit and things like that. And then we start to feed them dead things. I also have snakes, so I feed them like defrosted, frozen mice and things like that, insects. So here's tube feeding, and I actually show tube feeding later with the rabbit. So you have to estimate where the stomach is, which is not always easy, but once you put the tube in, you can kind of go by feel. It'll slide in, but as you kind of hit resistance, you're hopefully in the stomach. You got to be careful that you're not in the lungs, but you kind of get a feel for it. It's almost hard to describe. It's kind of scary though, I have to be honest. This is stimulating the baby because the mom would normally lick down in the genitals to pee and poo. You have to do that manually until they open their eyes. And as they get older, they can start to lap from a dish. This is formula in a dish, and they get bigger and cuter, in my opinion. And a setup for a cage might look like this. They'll have like many places to hide. They love hammocks. They love nesting boxes. It's really important that you keep them in a group. We try to never raise a baby by itself, even if it's from a different litter. We'll mix litters so they have litter mates because they kind of learn to be who they are from each other. And it's also a very good source of comfort. We put them in outdoor cages for a couple of weeks before we release them so they can get used to the elements. They have to be out in an outdoor cage for about 2 weeks. They have to be about 1 foot long before you release them. A little more than 1 pound is a good size, sometimes longer, especially in the winter. If we have a winter group, we want to make sure they're ready to deal with the elements, I guess. About 3 to 4 months old. They're eating dead stuff. They need to be able to eat dead stuff. They need to know to eat that. And we release them at dawn or dusk, usually dusk, I guess. We've done it at dawn as well, though. Away from homes, roads, usually, hopefully near good weather, near some kind of water source. And a hard release, meaning that once we release them, they're gone. When we talk about squirrels, we'll talk about how we keep the cage open outside so they can go in and out. With possums, they're good to go. So here's a release day for a little group of possums. And we always hope for the best for these little guys. Now, I've done possum rehab. And again, I'll introduce you to a little friend here toward the end. Now, I've never done flying squirrel rehab. We have a couple of people that we all do kind of specialize in certain areas. Some of us are more generalists. Some of us are still learning. But I have had flying squirrels before for educational purposes, and they are super cool. So a little bit about them. They're omnivores. They eat just about everything. They live around here, down into South Carolina is when I used to see them a lot more. Lots of predators, so they're very important in the food chains. They often have multiple nests, just like gray squirrels, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And they are social, so these guys are super social. In fact, it's really important when you release a flying squirrel that there's already ones there that they can join in because they really need to be together. They'll die on their own. So here's a little litter of flying squirrels. They're born, they'll be born, some are born usually early spring, and then the mom will have another litter late summer. 2 to 7 per litter. Gestation is about 40 days, which is similar to gray squirrels, maybe a little longer. They usually stay with the mother for about 3 months or so. And they live up to 3 years in the wild, longer in captivity. Again, these guys are just a really common food source, so they get picked off. Here's a mama with her babies, too cute. I love their big eyes. They're nocturnal as well, so they got really big eyes. What's kind of interesting is, well, I don't want to say kind of interesting, what's super interesting is what's called the patagium. Patagium? It's the skin flap from their front legs to their back legs that allow them to fly. And you can see the arc of this guy's flight and how he spreads out and then he slows down by kind of coming back in. He actually uses his tail as a little, kind of like a rudder to turn. In fact, I'm going to show you about a 2-minute video. It's a National Geographic thing, about 2 minutes, and it's going to talk a little bit about the mechanics of their flight because it's really cool. So if I am lucky, we'll see if I'm lucky. I want to show you, let's see if I can pull it up, this video. Someone holler if it's not playing correctly. Here we go, friends. Fingers crossed.
When you've got fur instead of feathers, going airborne takes some guts. But the flying squirrel never hesitates to leap into the void. Luckily, he comes equipped with a built-in parachute. A membrane stretches from wrist to ankle, turning the squirrel into a living, breathing paper airplane. With each leap, the squirrel takes aim and spreads its body into a square. A cartilage rod attached to their wrists helps them steer during flight. The rodents glide through the forest like ghosts, their tails acting as a stabilizer and a brake. They may look like daredevils, but flying squirrels have plenty to be scared of. Snakes, owls, raccoons, and even cats constantly hunt them. But no matter what, this squirrel will always have an escape plan. Gliding is like a built-in life insurance policy. Wingless predators need not apply.
Okay, let's see if I can get this. I'm gonna pause this. Okay, hold on, friends. Okay, I want to stop it, but I don't want to get rid of you. So give me just a second. I want to make sure I don't lose you. Oh yeah, because that's what I was gonna do. Hold on, friends. I apologize. Let me go back. I'm gonna pause this so it doesn't make sound for you. Okay, there we go. So let's get back. Oh, it is gonna make sound.
Just like.
Oh my goodness. Okay, there we go. Back to the presentation. So I just think that is just the neatest thing. And I work a lot with kids, and so they're always like, and I say, what's the only flying mammal? And everybody always says a flying squirrel. But actually, it really should be called a gliding squirrel. As you guys probably know, the only flying mammal is the bat. So a little bit about what how they look when they're itty bitty. I want you to note in the week 1, that's a quarter. They are teeny tiny. You can already see their flaps of skin. And as they get older, they get furrier. Their tail gets bushier. Their eyes.
Hey, Shannon, let me interrupt you for a second.
Sure.
We're still seeing the YouTube. So you need
Oh
to
no!
share.
Let me try it again. Please. How about now? No?
Not yet.
How about, okay, let me try this one. How about now? No?
No.
Ah, guys, I'm sorry. This is what I was worried about. Hold on, I'll get it. So I'm going to go to new share, and I'm going to go to presentation, and I'm going to click share. It's no good?
Not sure why, but you're still on the Nat Geo
know.
video.
Okay. Should I try just closing the video, do you think? Because I'm pushing new share. I'm clicking on PowerPoint, and then I click on share.
Yep.
And it seems like it should be good.
It should be.
I know.
So how about this? Let me go ahead and
share and start again.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna stop share, friends. Sorry about that. Nice.
There you go. Yep.
Okay, let's try it again. This was what I was worried about, but it's all right. I know you guys are patient. All right, let me try pushing there, and let's push share now. How about now? What are you seeing?
Yep, we got the H chart. Looks good.
Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, well, hopefully that's the worst of it. So you guys can see the teeny tiny babies now, and they don't have a lot of fur. They got little skin flaps though, and they grow and get bushier, get more clear-eyed because when they're born, their eyes are closed. Okay, now I'm trying to get to go to the next slide. There we go. And you can see here, these guys are pretty clear-eyed, but by about 9 or 10 weeks, they're just about ready to go. And usually they have to be what it says here, 45 to 100 grams, but usually we weigh closer to 100 grams because we want to get these guys, you know, a good start. And we talked about earlier their lifespan, but they are darn adorable. So you guys, I don't want to bore you too much with the details, but oh, let me go back. It's the same idea. You warm them. They can't digest anything until they're warm. So you have to warm them, hydrate them. Then we look at feeding. We don't tube feed them because they're too tiny. I want to talk to you for just a second about a milk line. So if you look at this picture of this animal, you notice there's kind of a lighter spot right above his genitals. It's like almost like a line. That's called a milk line. You want to keep food. You can actually see the milk in its belly, and you want to keep that line the whole time. And here's one being fed. And I like this picture because you really can see the potassium between its front and back legs. The setup would be just a small tank starting with a heating pad until his eyes are open. And then we move to the taller cage there. You see it's what's called a feed and seed, and we use those for all the animals. We actually build those here. So just darn cute. So chipmunks. Okay, I know chipmunks sometimes drive people crazy, but they are adorable. What's kind of cool about chipmunks is sometimes people call and say they have a baby, and they're like, we think it's a squirrel. And then we say, well, does it already have stripes? From the birth, they have stripes like that. So you can tell it's a chipmunk baby. There's several species, believe it or not. They have really big ranges and really huge burrowing chambers. And that's what probably drives people crazy because they do dig up their yards. They are a species that does fully hibernate in North Carolina. A lot of people don't realize that we got the groundhogs and the chipmunks, and I'm forgetting one, bats, they hibernate. But these guys do fully hibernate. They have 2 litters often a year in spring and late summer, 30 days gestation. They are omnivorous, eat both plants and animals. And again, they don't live very long. Now they're smaller, that's kind of expected, but yeah, only 1 to 2 years in the wild. Lots of predators. So again, they're born with their stripes, so that often helps us to identify them because a lot of pinkies or the baby version of these animals look very similar. So again, same idea, warm, hydrate, medicate if you need to. Any animal that's been in a dog or cat's mouth has to get antibiotics, especially in a cat's mouth, because cat's mouths, no offense for cat fans, but they do have really bacteria-filled mouths. And so we definitely have to use antibiotics if they've been in an animal's mouth, which is often how we get animals. And we gradually introduce formula with all these animals, super watered down, and then we add formula over time. And about 8 to 10 weeks, they're ready to go. I have not rehabbed chipmunks yet, so we'll see how that goes. Rabbits. Oh my gosh, we are getting calls for rabbits left and right. I don't know what is it with this year. I mean, I know we always get calls for rabbits, but so many rabbits. Rabbits are the cutest things in the world. But there are a fair amount of work because everything wants to eat a rabbit. So rabbits don't really like you. So they make you work to feed them and interact with them. Again, we keep our interactions very minimal, but we have to interact to feed them or give them medicine. They come with their eyes closed. They're weaned after 2 or 3 weeks, and they're ready to go in like 3 weeks. They come and go very quickly. Adult is about 400 grams, but they come out pretty teeny tiny. And moms can breed 2 days after giving birth. And I'm sure you've heard, like rabbits. I won't get into more detail than that, but that's why they say that, gestation's kind of average, and they're strictly herbivorous. However, I actually have pet rabbits, and my pet rabbit ate a cricket the other day in my office. And that was disturbing because they should be strictly herbivores. Here's a picture one of our volunteers took of a rabbit that was released. Don't get too sad. It is a little sad. What happened to these rabbits? They come in sometime what we call degloved. So one, what do you call it? Like a mechanism for defense or to get away is their skin is actually really loosely attached. And worst comes to worst, their skin will come off. And it's terrible. I'm sure they hate it too, but it's one way to avoid getting eaten. So these guys were brought in because they were attacked. Their skin was removed from the predator, but they got away, and they actually can survive this in the wild. But if we can help them recover, they have a better chance. But they can recover from this, even though it looks terribly sad. Something about rabbits. So everybody sees a rabbit and they're like, oh my gosh, I need to bring them in. But does it really need help? If it's in a cat or dog's mouth, absolutely. But moms only, they're like, the mom is nowhere to be found. They've been orphaned, but moms only come at dawn and dusk to feed. So the mom will leave the rest of the time so she doesn't draw attention from predators. So one way to find out when people say, I found this nest, I think it's abandoned, we tell them to mark it. Now to mark it, you got to look closely at this picture. So this was a nest and someone marked it with string. If you guys can see kind of the checkerboard pattern with the string. And what they do is the babies are under there and they mark it on top of the nest. And then they leave it. And if it's been disturbed, they know the mom is coming and going. So we'll ask them to mark the nest before we just start taking them. Again, same, pretty similar to rehab care. Warm them, weigh them, hydrate them, stimulate them. You can stimulate, and we say stimulation of their genitals to see if they urinate, to see if they're how well or how poorly they're hydrated. They need a warm before you feed them, and you often need to let them rest first to let them de-stress, because if they're too stressed, they won't eat. And a little fact about rabbits is they can't throw up. So if they don't digest their food, and it can kill them because they can't throw it up. So they have to be more calm before you feed them. So here's a little baby that one of the volunteers got not too long ago. Eyes closed, teeny tiny. This guy is less than a week old. So we feed them. Sometimes we tube feed, sometimes we bottle feed these guys. It depends how well we can get them to suckle. So the last one is bottle feeding, and this one's tube feeding. This guy is super young. This guy's a couple days old. I'm going to show you a quick video of me tube feeding one of the rabbits here. It's about 1.5 minutes. So sit tight here and hopefully it'll play well. We'll see. I'll talk a little over it too, though. With the little rabbit that I received, because unfortunately its mother was killed by a cat. And these rabbits, we don't keep them very long. They get weaned and released with less than a month. So I'm going to go and weigh him so I know how much to feed him. In case the audio is not too good right now, I'm weighing him in my little box. That's going to tell me how much to feed him. 2 grams, that's good news. And I'm noting here that he's gained a little weight. As long as they're maintaining and hopefully gaining, that's a good sign. Pre-made. Now it's different with the rabbit. I'm a tube feed here, so that's hot. That's the tube. It'll take me a second to insert the tube, so sit tight here. So I hold them like this on its back, and I've already marked the tube where it will go till it reaches the stomach. So the rabbits don't love this, and I hate that it won't suckle well, but it sometimes is a matter of life and death, because if you can't feed them, they will die. So it takes sometimes time, because sometimes they'll fight, or they'll even kind of bite at it or kind of close up their throat. But after you've done it for a while and you wet it, they get used to it. It's not as traumatizing. I wish there was a better way. Sometimes we have to do sub-cueing with a needle. This is better than that. And I'm going to go ahead and start feeding him. I usually keep his head covered so he's a little less stressed. And that just goes right to his belly. Now he's also eating greens of all sorts, kale and clover and dandelion, but this is helping to supplement him because he's the smaller of the rabbits. So I'm going to make sure he's getting all the nutrition he needs. Yeah, so I'll go out in the morning and I'll get, just from my yard, I'll get clover, dandelion, and grass. And then I'll also add kale and some other greens as they get a bit older. He's just finishing up there. That's my husband's handiwork. I guess I have to give him some props there. He's ready to go back to his brothers. Thanks for hanging out. That face. I'll see you next time. That face, he's like, oh my goodness. But again, I wish some of them I can get to bottle feed and some I can't. So, all right. So weaning. So then we start giving the good stuff. I was telling you, the dandelions, the grass, the clover. Once they start eating solids for 2 days, they're ready to release most of the time. Like for instance, I have a rabbit right now they've kept longer because it has a little bit of its leg is not quite right, but it's getting better. And I'm hoping that it'll fully recover. Fingers crossed. 100 grams at least before release. And we do dawn, dusk, and always we look for good weather. So this is the size of a releasable rabbit. It looks small and helpless, but they know what to do. There he is again. So squirrels. So squirrels come in quite a bit too. Here's a gray squirrel. And a little bit about them. They usually have 2 litters. Again, a little longer gestation there. 2 to 6 blind naked babies, usually about 3 of them or so, but they can get several more sometimes. These guys, a lot of them die the first year, but after, if they make the first year, they're usually good for a while, but a lot of them do die the first year. And if they make it past that first year, they can live up to about 7 or 8 years. They build nests called drays. I like to point that out because this is what a dray looks like. And often people think it's a bird nest, but if it's kind of bigger, lots of leaves, compacted, usually near the trunk, it's often a squirrel nest. So if you've never noticed, go outside of your yard when you get a chance and look for these compacted bunches of leaves. It's probably a squirrel nest where they'll put caches of food, raise their babies, go to keep warm in the wintertime. This is obviously a stylized picture, but I thought it was cute. You can see they kind of curl up in the middle of the nest there. One thing I like to point out, and with the time, I had a little video, but if you get a chance, I'm not going to show it because I want to do a few other things, but there's a video on the Dodo. If you ever check out the Dodo, it's a website where there's lots of feel-good animal videos. If you're having a bad day, go to the website called the Dodo. And there's a video of mamas saving their babies. So a mama squirrel will always come for her babies if she's alive. So people will find baby squirrels on the ground, and we always try to reunite first. We'll say, put it in a box close to the base of the tree. And if that mom's alive, she will come get them. So squirrel mamas are the best moms. Possums, I said earlier, not so much. But again, often because the possums carry the babies on their back, the baby will fall off and she won't even know. So warming, look for injury. Feeding, sometimes we have to feed them up to 6 times a day, sometimes in the middle of the night, and that's tiring. You have to help them urinate until their eyes open. And then we start offering things, fruits, vegetables, what we call mouse block, which is just like a standard block if you guys have ever had rodents, and lots of things to chew. Here's one of the squirrels being fed there. With the bottle. I've never had to feed a squirrel. They're actually usually really voracious eaters, and I love it. They just love to eat, and I love seeing them eat because they seem so happy. Here's a quick little minute video of me feeding. I think this is Peanut, and we'll introduce Peanut in a bit. Shannon here from ARC, and I'm just about to feed my squirrel. Now, to know how much to feed him, I'll weigh him first. This little guy came to us because unfortunately his mom died when a person had cut down their tree. And luckily he survived. So I'm going to go ahead and weigh him first. I would like to point that out. That's where we get a lot of the baby squirrels, is people will cut down trees, and I'm not, there's no judgment. I mean, we've cut down trees in our yard, and about 131 grams. We have to take them. We do try to reunite first, but if you can't reunite, then 6 weeks, because he needs to be closer to 220 plus grams before he can be released. So hopefully he'll be out there before spring is done. So I have already pre-made his formula. It's just a syringe with a little nipple there for him. And he's still learning how to eat a little bit, so he's a little bit messy, but he does all right. This guy's really funny, Peanut, because he'll get so into the sucking motion that even if I pull it out, he'll just keep sucking at the air forever. It's so funny. Hard foods like nuts and acorns, and then some greens as well. They can't be released until they can crack their own nuts and things like that. So he's a cutie. I'll introduce you to him in just a minute. All right. And of course, you got to throw in a couple cute squirrel pictures too. So these guys come naked and blind. I mean, they're just little alien little guys. But after a couple weeks, they'll open their eyes. They'll get bigger. Their tails will bush out. And over time, they hopefully can start cracking nuts and things like that. We can't release them until they can do that. So as an adult, 12 weeks old at least, they have to be good at climbing, hopefully good fear responses. They'll start hopefully caching food like all over their cage, and be able to crack nuts. And they'll start to build their own little nests too. And we see that behavior before we release them as well. And we put them in an outdoor cage for a couple weeks. And these guys, we do what's called a soft release, where we'll put them in an outdoor cage for 2 weeks. And these are big cages, like walking cages. We'll open the door and we'll leave them open for a while so they can come and go. And then hopefully they keep going. Sometimes we kind of have to push them a little bit. Parents should understand that. So if you want to help, okay, there's so many ways to help. You know, maybe you want to be a rehabber. Fantastic. Maybe you're like, no way, but what else can I do? So this is a nod to North Carolina Wildlife Federation too, but this is really important. Making your yard wildlife friendly, letting your grass grow a little longer, plant native plants, allow some brush piles to remain if you can. I understand a lot of people live in suburbs and your neighbors would frown upon you if your front yard looked like that. Maybe you can do in your backyard. Reduce those pesticides. I have neighbors who love the perfect green lawn, and they kind of, I think they love me, but they are like, Shannon, your yard looks terrible. I think it looks nice. I don't mind the dandelions and the clover. They like those. I don't use pesticides in my yard. Provide a water source. Keep your pets inside as much as possible. I don't want to get into too much the controversy of cats. Ideally, keep them inside. Again, I don't want to get too much in. I know some people feel very strongly about that, but keep them in as much as possible. That's what I'm going to say. And consider get your yard certified, as Miss Carol said earlier. You need a little bit of food, a little bit of water, a little bit of space, a little bit of shelter. So you found an animal. Does it need help? Well, that's the first question to ask. If it's a baby possum, the answer is always yes. If it's in a pet's mouth, yes. If obvious injury, yes. Favoring a leg is a common injury. If it's nocturnal and it's out during the day, maybe. So that's behavior of sometimes animals with rabies, but also nursing mothers and things like that will come out because they have to keep supplementing their food. So that answer is maybe, and you probably want to give us a call. Unfurred and feather babies out of the nest, yes. Not moving for traffic, probably. Easily captured adult, probably that means, or yes, that there's something wrong with it. If they don't run away, they don't have that normal fear response. I'm not saying you should go get it. If it's a rabies vector, you need to call us, and we'll talk about rabies in a minute. Here's kind of a rule of thumb, so to speak. If you can't reunite a baby squirrel or chipmunk after 6 hours, yes. If the mother rabbit doesn't come back after 12 hours, yes. Fawn, which deer we don't do, you can contact the North Carolina Wildlife Resource Commission. They have rehabbers that do fawns, but sometimes the mom will leave the fawn for up to a day. So if you don't see the mom for a day, it possibly may need help. And when in doubt, give us a call. So if you're going to rescue an animal, I know our heart just jumps into it, but we need to be practical. You're going to need some materials. You're going to have thick gloves, something to put it in. You want to be safe, run straight into traffic, or climb dangerous ladders or near power lines. You want to be aware of your situation. The best thing you can do for an animal is drop a towel or a blanket over its head. That will reduce its stress and save you hopefully from bites or scratches. Again, thick gloves, guys. If you can avoid touching it all together and kind of moving it in with the broom, I'm not saying batter the poor thing, but push it into a box with a broom, that's good. And try to keep it away, be between you and the road or some water so it doesn't run out into traffic. So if you have the animal, what do you do now? The best thing you can do is keep in a dark, quiet, contained space like a box. If you have a heating pad, especially if it's eyes closed babies, that's awesome. Even if you don't have a heating pad, you can take a sock, put some rice in it, throw in the microwave for 2 minutes. That'll help. Or hot hands, keep something between it like a towel. Injured animals, and especially eyes closed babies, really need that. Cover with the towel or blanket. Okay, this is a big thing. Please, please, please do not feed that animal, no matter what, because these animals, they'll often make them much more sick. Just call us. And I know people do it because they want to help, and I get it, and it's not a judgment. I know our hearts are in it, but we just need to get them to someone who has the right kind of food. Minimize handling and call us right away. And there's other organizations too. Sometimes we get overwhelmed and we'll send you somewhere else, but we will not say we can't help you. We will help you, or we'll get you someone that can. So, this is something I like to point out because people are so good, but then keeping the baby warm, but then they'll put it in the car and they'll blast the AC, and then the poor thing's freezing cold. So just keep that in mind. A note about rabies. So raccoons, foxes, skunks, and bats. Those are things to keep in mind. Raccoons are the most common carriers around here. Things like rodents, rabbits, possums, they rarely, if ever, I almost want to say they never get it, but I should say are very resistant to rabies. So those are not what we call rabies vectors. You can get more information at Center of Disease Control website. They have more information. But we do now have people that can care for rabies vectors. So you can still call us. But there are signs, a little bit about rabies though. You find it in bodily fluids, such as saliva, and in the brain, not so much blood, urine, or feces. Oh my goodness. I don't even know what that says, you guys. I know what I meant to say. It doesn't survive very long outside the body. I don't know why it says that, but once it's outside the body, like on surfaces, it doesn't live very long, the virus, if you want to call it alive. But you can, saliva is the big thing. That's why it's in bites, right? But it is actually easy to kill by disinfectant. So if some reason you have what you think could have been a rabies vector near you, you can disinfect it easily. Something I like to point out is this. I'm going to pull these up real fast. And the reason I want to point this out is because I didn't know this till recently. I mentioned to Carol about this raccoon. And I said, this raccoon was out during the day in the road. And I said, it doesn't have rabies. It's not attacking anybody, but it was unusually friendly. It was kind of just sitting in the road, rolling around. It didn't have good motor control. And I think it probably did. We did call, because I was at the parks, and I didn't even call them, but the manager called animal control. And to be honest, I think it was put down. But I think it probably did have rabies. I didn't realize that rabies isn't always biting, snarling, scratching, attack you kind of thing. A lot of it is just what they call dumb rabies, where they're just like out of it. So mad rabies is more of the, what we often think of it like Cujo, like biting, snarling, and those are more carnivores. Dumb rabies are more for smaller mammals. But just something to keep in mind, do not, and I know you know this, do not approach them. You can call us, but if it's showing signs of rabies, we are going to have to call animal control. So we'll probably end up sending you there anyway. So you may have to call animal control. And we always let the health department know because they keep track of that as well. This is just and I know this isn't the best picture because it's kind of small, but we do have a lot of friends that do birds. I always like to point this out for them. If not every bird needs help. If it is a bird that doesn't have feathers, it's on the ground, the best thing you can try to do is to put it in a warm, like a box with a towel near the base of the tree or even in the crook of a tree. If it's on the floor, on the ground, and it can't quite fly, it could be because it's fledgling, especially now in the next few weeks or well into the summer, gosh, in the fall, really. If it looks like it's trying to fly, keep an eye on it. I'm not saying to ignore it, but mom and dad are probably nearby. So just don't be so quick to snatch up that bird. I know our hearts are in it, but we want to only help animals that really need it because their moms do much better than we do. Even the best rehabilitators are not as good as their moms. So questions. Well, I want to take questions, but I also want to show animals too. Well, let's try to do both. Real fast. I'll come back. We'll come back to questions in a minute. If you do want to support us, this is the information. You can go to our website. We can take financial donations, but you can also volunteer. If you want to be a rehabber, by golly, join us. If you're like, I care, but I'm not into that. Some people just transport the animals. They don't take them to their home, but they'll transport them. Some people help with the hotline because we have a 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. hotline every single day. And that's a lot of work. Some people fundraise, help us fundraise or help with outreach. So there's other ways to help instead of just having lots of animals in your home, unless you're into that. That would be cool too. And obviously we can donate. That's our website, arkwildlife.org. And that's kind of what our website looks like. So friends, let's see. I'm going to do a shout out to Daniel. Daniel, should I do questions first or should I show some friends first?
Let's show some friends. Those things are too adorable. Let's make sure we have enough time to see
That's
what you've got
true.
hiding and moving in that cage right behind you.
All right, I'm going to go and stop share. So you see me now, right?
Yep.
Yay. All right, so I'll show you a couple friends, and then if you guys have questions, hang out, and I can stay as long as you need me to. So behind me, and I'll tell you, I want to kind of give a shout out to people that support us behind the scenes. And sometimes it's people you're surprised to be so supportive. I mean, people from all different political backgrounds, or people maybe that you wouldn't always interact with, but you can come together because everyone loves a baby animal. So it's kind of like the grand equalizer. We're all caring about these animals. Someone donated this nice big old cage here. It's actually 2-decker. I don't want to move the camera because I don't know if it's going to mess up. But back here, I have I have 6 squirrels back here. And they're actually from 3 different litters. And again, they come together and they're fine. I'm gonna get one for you. I want to get Peanut. Peanut was my favorite. I'm sorry, don't tell him he's not my favorite. I love them all. All right, Peanut, where are you? Oh, you know what I'm gonna do first? I'm gonna sanitize first. That's really important hygiene. All right, let me find Peanut. Where are you, buddy? Peanut. Here we go. Here's Peanut. Yeah, I'm sorry, he was all sleepy. This, my friends, is Peanut. He's a couple, about 2 months old now. And he will be ready. He's about 180 grams. So he'll be ready to go probably in the next month. He's got a pretty good looking tail. He's a pretty good size right now. And he's very sharp claws. He wouldn't hurt me to be mean, but man, those claws. So Peanut came to us because this one was because a tree being cut down. But he's a really good guy. He's actually a good big brother. He actually looks out for the little guys in there. Squirrels are actually pretty good with people with the raising. I don't think it's as stressful for them, but when we release them, we want them to go be ready to live on their own. So that's Peanut right there. And hold on, sweetheart. Here we go. And I have 6 of those guys. And now I'm going to show you one of my rabbits. So we have right now I have 5 rabbits, 2 that are bigger, one because his leg's still kind of recovering, another one just because he was by himself and he's kind of a slower growing kind of guy. But he should be ready to go this weekend. But then I also have these 3 little ones. I'll show you one of the little ones. All right. This guy is only, let me see, he's about 10 days. He has at least maybe another 10 days to go. But this is a little, if I can get him, he's active. Little guy here. His name is Sparkle. The reason his name is Sparkle is because he's got sparkle nail polish on his ear. Why would I do that? Well, it's to help tell the difference between them. So it's a good way just to mark his ear. But he's actually one of my more chill rabbits, but he's got about another 10 or 12 days and then he'll be ready to go. They go pretty young, but he is a cutie. I got him about a week ago. His eyes were closed and just the tiniest little thing, but he's doing really well. So anyway, that's Sparkle. And I'll show you one of my possums too. I have 3 possums right now, all from the same litter. This is from a mom being hit, which is a quick side note. A lot of times the mamas will be hit by a car, but they still have babies either in their pouch or nearby. And these guys, their mama got hit and they weren't that small. They were just nearby and someone called this in. So let me get him for you. Now, I've only had this guy for a couple days. So he's probably going to smile at you, which isn't really a smile. It's like, look at my big teeth. But, all right. He's going to smile for us. But I won't hold him very long because he's still kind of working through, because he's still pretty young. You can see his little naked tail and his big ears and all his big, beautiful teeth. So I'm going to go put him back with his brothers. I don't want to stress him anymore. But they are really, really cute little guys. Let me put him back. Now, possums, we have longer than any other ones because, they're marsupials and they kind of more chill out, but I only had them for a few days. So they're still pretty, which isn't it's not a bad thing. So that's all I have right now. I have a couple possums, couple rabbits, couple squirrels. So now if you have questions, I'm happy to answer anything you get.
All right, Shannon, I really appreciate that. Boy, that was a lot of information that you sent us. We've got some great questions queued up over here.
Great.
Talking about possums, you started to answer that question, and so Kristen asks, should you check dead possums for babies? Can the tiny babies really be saved?
That's a really good question. And the answer is maybe. I can't remember. I think they have to be at least, is it 10 grams or 15 grams? It's always worth calling because I couldn't save a baby that small, but we have someone named Barbara who has saved babies that are very small. And she will tell you. And even if we can't save them, we do have a vet that will euthanize them humanely. So we can send them to her. So at least they're not starving to death. But yeah, when they're itty bitty, not so much. Usually we're talking about this, then maybe we might be able to save them. But yeah, you can check the possums on the side of the road, obviously safely. just know that, this is from experience, they can be really smelly. And if you're on your way to work, make sure you don't get stuff on you, because that happened to me just a couple days ago and no one would come near me because I was really stinky, but it didn't have any babies anyway. But yeah, you can do that. If you can do that safely, feel free to call us with a picture and we will either send you to someone who can euthanize them humanely, or hopefully we can save them.
Suzanne had tuned in just a little bit late. Can you share that last screen that has your contact
Yeah.
information on there?
That's
they
probably good. I should leave that on there anyway.
now
Here.
that all the cute little,
This one, can you see it?
it's starting to share. There it is.
Okay,
Great.
I can leave that too. So I'm still here.
Right. So that's Animal Rehabilitators of the Carolinas. So is that website arc.org, or what is the website?
It is arcwildlife.org.
arcwildlife.org. Very good.
Yeah. Well, let me double check. Now I'm afraid I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Well, we're gonna, yeah.
You know, while we're still on possums, you know, you did talk about the rabies vectors and that kind of thing. I think a big misconception is that possums have rabies, and I'm under the impression that they can't even get rabies. So is a possum one of those wildlife critters out there that we don't have to worry about rabies from them?
That is true. And at this PowerPoint is a compilation from a couple different people, and it said rarely, but I have a possum getting rabies. So I'm going to go ahead and be brave, and I'm going to say they don't. Now, there's always those weird exceptions in the world. Understanding they do not get it. It has to do with their temperature. You have to be the right temperature for a rabies virus to kind of cook or whatever, or reproduce and whatever. And they're not the right temperature.
Great. And of course, like you mentioned, they are wonderful tick vacuum cleaners.
They are. They're so good. They're so good.
We had another question about rabbits. You were talking about the question is, when you say recover, does that mean their fur regrows quickly?
Are you talking about like that when they're degloved, when their fur comes off?
Maybe, I'm not sure, because it's that's what the question I read.
Their fur will grow back. It takes a while. And that I found that kind of interesting too, to be honest with you. I'm thinking, okay, well, yeah, now they got away, but they seem pretty vulnerable. But I guess it's better than being eaten. But I have seen pictures of rabbits that have been degloved and their fur does grow back.
And do you, when you release them, do you wait until their fur has regrown before you release them at that point?
We would, and it's not because they wouldn't. I mean, they could still possibly survive, but when we release animals, we want to get them in the most optimal health before we release them.
Well, one question that we've gotten several times is, when you are releasing any of the animals that you rehab, how do you decide where to release them?
Oh, it's a good question. So we use kind of like the thing with certify in your yard, whether it's certified or not, but we want there to be food, water, shelter, and space. And ideally, I wouldn't normally release an animal in my backyard because I'm in the suburbs. It doesn't mean the animals cannot live here. I do have rabbits and possums and squirrels. But again, we're going for the best of the best. So we do have some rehabbers that have lots of land with a lake, and it's away from roads and setback, and not as much. They're less likely to interact with people. So we usually look. There's a couple spots that we do regularly. I have released them at parks too. Again, it just depends the animal, and it's just the whole point is, do they have the resources they need, and are they away from as many dangers as we can? I mean, obviously you can't keep them 100% safe forever. We got to let them go, but we give them the best chance we can.
Well, I am putting personally my name and my property available for any of your king snakes to come on out here. We all know that those black snakes and king snakes in particular are great for our ecology.
Yes, absolutely.
So let me know where I can sign up to get any of those that you might have rehabbed.
I'll keep you in mind.
We have another question about, oops, what happened to that question?
Oh,
How likely is it for them to survive mild aspiration from flooded nest? Recently had this happen. So I'm not sure if, imagine she's talking about rabbits, I guess, in this part.
okay. I was gonna say rabbits still only usually have one nest. I'd say squirrels often have multiple nests. And trying to think. When I hear aspiration, I think like when we're feeding them, sometimes it'll go in their nose. But is she talking about like flooding, just like their nest flood?
You know, it's I thought it was kind of regarding two different things, but it's written as one. So mild aspiration from a flooded nest. So if anybody, if a rabbit, you know, we had a ton of rain here up until just this last week. If that's been problematic with them aspirating rain or water.
Well, I mean, I guess it depends if they can get it. I mean, if they're, when I hear aspiration, I think they're breathing in the water. And I mean, that happens even when I feed them sometimes, if I feed a bottle, and if they can sneeze it out and get it out. Now, flooding is a whole nother story. Depends if they're able to be moved. And the mama, I'm assuming, well, I shouldn't assume, right? That's where you get in trouble. I know squirrels will move their babies. Rabbits, if they already have one nest, they may try to locate another nest to move them. I bet, and again, I'm hypothesizing with you. I would imagine it has to do with their age and if they can escape the water, and if their mama is able to move them, and if they're haven't had too much water in their lungs. I'm sorry, I know that's not a very clear answer. I think I'd have to research that a little bit.
Is that something that you have found often, that flooded rabbit nests, because they are ground nesters, that's problematic?
You know, strangely enough, I haven't heard a lot about that, but that's actually surprising. I'm sure it happens. More than anything, we get rabbits because they're discovered by dogs or by lawnmowers. I mean, I'm sure it happens. I only do hotline a couple days a month. So, but I've never had a call with one being flooded. I'm sure it happens though.
I like the image that you showed of a nest, which of course you couldn't tell that it wasn't just a yard with some grasses and weeds or whatever. But you have the person put a little crisscross of a thin thread.
Yeah.
So you could see the thread, and obviously you'll easily be able to see if it was moved, and the mother coming back would have to move that thread to get to the babies underneath.
Right. Because the babies are down in there, they're not going to disturb it. So again, the animal's mother will always do a better job than the best rehabilitator. So we want to make that happen if we can.
And that is, you would put that down and wait 12 hours. Were those the numbers that you said, 12 hours for rabbits?
12 hours for rabbits, because they always come at dawn and dusk. So if you put it out, you know, and you overnight, in the morning, it hasn't been disturbed. But yeah, they're called crepuscular, which means they come out at dawn and dusk. So just keep that in mind. Go over at least one dawn or dusk session and see if it's been disturbed.
Okay. We had another question. If you have a grown possum in your yard, and it says in the anytime, should you call a rehabber?
Just a random possum that looks, I mean, if it's fine and not, you know, it doesn't seem injured, and it seems, I mean, I get possums in my yard. They're good to have around. You're always welcome to call. I would never discourage someone from calling. I mean, if you have a concern, call us, send us a picture. But yeah, I mean, there's possums around. They're just doing their thing.
Matter of fact, the folks over at the Raptor Center also will take phone calls if you have questions about raptors, owls, hawks, and such. I learned that a raptor on the ground with their wings kind of spread, almost making like a patio umbrella on the ground, is just them hiding whatever they're trying to catch from their competitors, their other hawks and whatnot.
You can't see it.
That's right. You can't see, it's all mine. That is a very natural thing. So asking questions, I think, is a wonderful way, whether you call Animal Rehabilitators of the Carolinas or the Raptor Center or any other sort of wildlife folks. whether wildlife control officers, that type of thing.
Yeah, and what's the other one? Carolina Waterfowl Rescue.
That's right.
We always joke, we call it Carolina Everything Rescue, and we say that affectionately because they don't just do waterfowl. They have a hard time saying no too, but they have there are a lot of knowledgeable people over there.
They've had donkeys as well. So I mean, they really have a hard time saying no.
Yeah, Carolina Everything Rescue.
Well, Shannon, I really want to thank you. It has been a great. It sounds like Carol might have a question.
Well, I just wanted to ask for those on the call that may be thinking, this is something I want to do. Can you give us I know it's going to vary throughout the year depending on baby season, but can you give us an idea of how many hours a week you devote to this?
Oh, it varies so much. And I'm going to tell you right now, it is the crazy time. And I mean, I'm going to tell you, I'm a little tired, because I work full time. A lot of people that do this are retired, which is great. But not everyone, right? But I had to get up at 5:30 this morning to make sure everyone was fed and clean before I went to work. So right now, I probably spend, let's not exaggerate, probably about, during the high baby seasons, about 2 hours, 1 to 2, well, maybe 2 hours a day. Now, after baby season, so maybe midsummer, maybe a couple hours a week at the most, just to help out, or maybe I have 1 or 2. But the thing about this is you don't have to take 15 animals. You can take 1. You can take none. It's really up to you. So some people take a lot, some take a few, and everything in between. And again, if you want to help, but you don't want to have a bunch of animals in your house, I totally understand. We do have people that just transport animals, that just do the hotline. I mean, I have people in tears on the phone. I have to kind of it's okay, we're going to make this work, because they just want to, they're just so worried about these animals, or even with outreach or education or fundraising. But yeah, that's, I guess, the beauty of this too. The only requirement you have as being being an ARC member is to do hotline twice a month. And that's 2 4-hour shifts. That is the requirement because it's such a high need. So it's basically 8 hours a month. And again, I'm not just sitting on the phone. I just have my phone with me and I check it every hour. But yeah, everything above that is what you want to do. And some people, I don't want to do bunnies. I just want to do squirrels. Okay. I just want to do possums. I don't like possums. Okay. So it really is what works for you, and it's all appreciated.
My mute button wouldn't hop off. Thank you so much, Shannon. If there's anybody else that wants to throw a question in the Q&A button down below, you are welcome to do so. Thank you again to Shannon and everybody that took the time to learn a little bit more about our wildlife and how to take care of them and help support them in your little part. We are all land stewards, and doing our part makes a big difference. And so thank you to everybody. Shannon, thanks again. And we thank you and honor you for all you do for wildlife.
Thank you, guys. I'll take care, and I'll be looking out for those babies. It's time right now.
Indeed. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful evening. We'll see you next month.
Guys.